it has to be taken and marketed by a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people have to take it. A lot of money has to come through the system, right? So there are many, many diseases where not everybody in the population is going to take it. A small segment of people want to take it. So what's happening in those cases is the manufacturers oftentimes are not developing the drug. It just doesn't make any economic sense unless they're charging a lot of money. A lot of money. And then they're getting a lot of bad press for it. You know, you hear some of these drugs that are like $5,000 a month. Usually they're biologics, what we call biologics. In other words, they're not chemicals per se. They're proteins or some other more difficult to process entity. And so they are very expensive. But if they save your life, you might be willing to, or somehow find a way to pay that, you know. But that's why they have what they call the Orphan Drug Development Program. Supposedly, the FDA was going to help manufacturers to develop drugs for these small populations, but it hasn't worked out that well because, of course, they really don't change the regulations that much, and there's still a lot of red tape. So yes, there's a lot of things I'm sure that could be developed. In fact, at Upjohn, what I remember, we sat down to choose the drugs to develop. We'd look at the market. If it was a small market, we said, we can't do it. The development costs will be too much. So there are many drugs out there that could cure or help people prevent their suffering that never come to market. Let's see. You haven't had a chance yet. Oh, the green, did you have a question? Oh, go ahead.
We just took our dogs and cats to the vet. And I noticed how expensive those medications are. What's the process? Is it the same process for the animals?
Okay. The question is, our veterinary bills are getting high. Is the process for drugs for them the same as with people? Well, it's not the same, but it's getting more and more regulated. Of course. And of course, there are people who are taking, but still it's cheaper than drugs for people. So there are individuals who take and go to their vet and get the drugs for their animals and actually take them themselves. That's one way they're controlling their healthcare costs. Now, I'm not saying you should go out and do that. I'm just pointing out. Please don't say I'm recommending this. I'm not. I'm just pointing out that that's one of the things that people are doing. There are also people who suggest cutting your pill in half and taking less of it so that your medication will extend out. Well, if you need that full dose, that's not a good idea. But if you can get along with half a dose, that cuts your costs. So this is the kind of thing that people are doing in order to make up for these prices that are just getting out of sight, and they're just going to get worse. Okay, have I exhausted all the questions? I've got one more over here. Okay, I'll take one more and then I'll leave.
What about vaccinations? Do they have to follow the same regulatory?
Oh, vaccinations. Oh my goodness, yes. It's getting almost impossible to develop a vaccine unless it's really something that the government wants badly, because there you're dealing with a biological again, and there's less quality control in terms of getting everything exactly the same in each dose, etc., etc. So the vaccine manufacturers they're very frustrated. Many of them have gone out of business. So that's a whole other story. In fact, that would make a good libertarian paper if you're so inclined. I know there are a few people who have dealt with that before, but the situation there is just getting worse. Okay, well, I want to thank you all for your attention. And I want to return my laser pointer substitute to whoever gave it to me. Thank you.